So, lesson 101, function notation. Let's talk about what exactly we're going to be covering today. All right, by the end of this lesson, you guys will be able to use function notation to do the following. You're going to determine inputs and outputs, all right, evidenced by translating and answering questions using function notation in the closure and personal progress check activities. So, let's begin by looking at the introduction. All right, so previously, you have looked at mathematical notation when it comes to functions, and you might have seen something that looks like this. F of x equals 3x squared minus 5. A lot of you guys might not know what that means, but f of x means function of x. All right. What I want you guys to realize is that f of x and y are essentially the same thing. All right. So I know most of you guys are used to seeing y equals instead of f of x equals. In this class, we are strictly going to be looking at f of x. We're only going to be using y when it comes to graphing. Otherwise, with functions, it will be f of x. All right. So let's talk about what all this stuff means. So here are your first section of guided notes. You can think of a function as a machine that takes in an input and produces an output. For example, in this machine, this is a machine that's called f, and x is an input. So we're plugging that into f, and we're getting an output f of x. For the notation, we have the following. X is considered the input of a function. F of x will be considered the output of function f. Okay. Let's say we replace the f with something else, like a g. Well, g of x will now be considered the output, but for a different function. It's function g. So it depends on whatever letter you have in front of x. That's what the name of the function is going to be. If it's an f, it's function f. If it's a g, it's function g. Lastly, f of 3. Now that we replace x with a number, this is considered the output of a function when the input is 3. All right? So you will always see the input in parentheses. Question, sir? You need what? Help? Yes, I'll get you set up right now. All right, so once again, anything that you see in parentheses will be considered an input. Otherwise, you have an output. Let's see the other page. Might be. No, you might have to download it and then. There it is. Perfect. All right. So, here is the first activity that we're going to do. We're going to do what's called a red light, green light. And this red light, green light is an activity you guys do with your table mates, okay? So, let's take a look at the following. It says here, red light, green light with penguin functions. A small local zoo has a population of 5 penguins. The zoo's computer system uses functions to retrieve information about its penguins. You can see all the relevant information is here on this table. We have Fluff, Puff, Huey, Fred, and Peep. We have their ID numbers, their age, and then what kind of species they are, what kind of species of penguin they are. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the following. F is a function that takes in a penguin's ID number and outputs the penguin's name. So whenever you use function f, you have to determine the ID number and then what the corresponding name will be. Function g is different. Function g takes in the penguin's name and outputs the age. All right? And finally, function h takes in the ID number and outputs the species. All right? So if we're looking at it in terms of function notation, this is what it would look like. You can write this down. Function f, the input for function f is the ID number, and the output is the name. Once again, function f, the input is the ID number, and the output is the penguin's name. Function G takes in the penguin's name and outputs the age. And lastly, function H takes in the ID number and outputs the species. So write this down so you guys can refer to this. It's going to make more sense when you take care of the mathematics behind this. Okay. All right. So what I want you guys to do in the next 5 minutes is, given that table and what you know about these three functions, you and your team are going to answer questions 1 through 6. All right, let's take 4 to 5 minutes to answer questions 1 through 6. All right, you guys can go ahead and begin. We walking around. If you guys have any questions? All right, we want to figure out using function f. So using the function that takes in the, what is it? The ID number and outputs name. What is f of 52? It is, what is that? Go ahead, Fred. Let's see, 52 corresponds to Fred. That's correct. Very good. All right, then we have, what is f of 53? Let's try somebody else. Let me hear from Sergio. What is f of 53? Peep. Thank you. Corresponds to peep. What is the following? H of 53. So now we have a different function. Now this one takes in the ID number and outputs the species. So what is H of 53? Grace. Gentoo. Gentoo is correct. Very good. And then what is G of Peep? So now we take in the name and output the age. So basically we're asking, what is Peep's age based on the computer? Elise, what is Peep's age? 14. He's 14. Great. Okay, moving on to H of 50. H of 50. Jackson, H of 50. What do we get? Emperor. So we have Emperor. And then G of Huey. G of Huey. Lorena. G of Huey. Huey takes in the penguin's name and outputs the age. So how old is Huey? 15. Excellent. All right. It's pretty straightforward, right? Each function is different, gives you different information. So let's move on. Okay. Using the same table of data here and the same functions, we're now going to answer different questions. Instead of inputs, now we're looking at it the other way around with outputs. For example, number 7, what values of x will make g of x equal 8? For what values of x is h of x equal to Gentoo? Number 9, suppose k of 49 is equal to 8, k of 51 is equal to 15. Explain what the function k does and use a complete sentence. Okay, I want you guys to answer the rest of these, 7 through 11. And then we're actually not going to come back until we finish all the way through question 11E. All right, so I'm going to give you plenty of time to get the rest of this done. You guys have, let's start with 15 minutes. Okay, and you're going to answer the rest of these questions. Please check in with me when it says stop. Check your answers with the teacher. Check in with me or check in with Miss M in the back. Got it? All right.